Hi, it's Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we'll be taking a look at the gargantuan case that is the Thermaltake CTE T500. It's an EATX compatible case with an absolute ton of cool features, but unfortunately it's a little bit too big for me to actually fit into the normal frame of our camera. Bear with us, keep watching to find out more. Okay, so who is the CTE T500 Air actually aimed at? So those of you who are looking for an EATX build, and potentially you're looking at something like maybe the Corsair 7000D, which has a very similar sheer size capacity and actually quite a lot of the design language as well, then you're going to be looking at spending about £230 here in the UK at the moment for the 7000D. Whereas if you go for the Thermaltake CTE T500, then potentially you can save yourself £100. So yeah, this at the moment is retailing for £129.99 at scan.co.uk. I'll put some links in the video description so you can check it for yourself. I actually had to do a double check because when I was doing some research on this for the actual unboxing, looking at prices, the first thing I did, just type it into Google and look at the price, like £130? Really? That's cheap. That's really cheap. How have they managed to do this for £130? Because essentially, it is a Corsair 7000D for all intents and purposes. The specs are pretty much the same. You still get included 3 fans straight off the bat, 3 of which are all the new CT140 fans, non-RGB. So for those of you who like RGB, then you may want to replace the fans. But it comes with 3 140mm fans straight away out of the box. So yeah, it looks on paper to be an absolutely fantastic deal. Now you're probably going to think, well, there's got to be something. Why is it a little bit cheaper? Well, the only reason I can think of is because Thermaltake are trying to push this new CTE technology, which stands for Centralised Thermal Efficiency. So traditionally, in a motherboard build or PC build, your motherboard would be standing in the normal vertical orientation. Whereas with this, they've taken it and twisted it on its head. Well, not quite on its head, but they've rotated it 90 degrees. So now, when you're actually doing your PC build, your I/O panel is going to be at the top of the case, whereas traditionally it would be at the rear. Now this does make some interesting challenges for certain peripherals to be plugged in, but don't worry, Thermaltake have taken care of most of that, and there is actually a really cool channel which runs along the top, and also they've added some extra bits on the back so you can cable tie your wires in to make everything look nice and neat and tidy. So I think that's pretty much it for an overview of what the case is all about. Let's go through, take this thing apart, and there is a lot to take apart, so this could be a long video. I will try and put some bookmarks and timestamps in the video description, so if there's a thing that you're specifically interested in, then feel free to obviously jump forward to that. But I would suggest watching the whole thing through because there is an absolute ton to go through here and lots of flexibility. So let's start off with some of the accessories to begin with. Now obviously you get a user manual. This is going to be really handy because there is a lot of things in here which you're going to learn. And actually I've stripped this down a couple of times already and still there's things I'm finding out. So potentially you will do as well. Included, obviously, you get the usual stuff, so you get all your cable ties, mounting equipment. You even get a BIOS speaker, always nice to have. I might actually steal that before I send this back to Thermaltake. Other bits you get, which are going to be for if you're looking at modifying the actual interior of this case. So this section here is an additional back panel. So you can actually remove part of the bottom of the interior of the case. So if you wanted to put in, say, some elaborate water cooling, you want to put a large reservoir in there, there is a section which is removable, which we'll show you a little bit later. And at the back, to keep things looking nice and tidy and to tuck your wires in, you get this panel with the nice push through, so you can put your wires through there and keep everything looking tidy. Also again, if you are thinking of elaborate water cooling, they include this mount for some water cooling reservoirs and pumps to go in that section as well, just so you can mount things a little bit easier and to make things look all nice and tidy. So that is pretty much it for the accessories. Let's go ahead and strip this bad boy down. So now you're going to probably work out why we've got this slightly different camera angle, and that is so we can basically see what is going on here. I'm going to need to stand up for this stuff to stop myself getting a sprained back. So starting off with the front panel, so we've got this really nice, really open section here. Pretty much all of it is open. Very good airflow on this. This section is removable very easily. It's all on pogo pins, so you can just grab your fingers in behind and pop those out, and you can put that to one side. You can see what that is like. So yeah, really nice open mesh design there, which is really nice to see. Looking behind that, you've then got some of this nylon mesh, which works really well. And again, they haven't put any of that traditional plastics in there to make it look a little bit weird. So if you are doing some elaborate RGB lighting, you're not going to have all kinds of weird plastic shapes going through it. So that is very nice. This is mostly magnetic, but there is a clip at the top. So you just pull it out from the top and you can remove this section to get hold of it for easy cleaning and all that kind of good stuff. So that's good to see. This reveals the front section. So this front section is huge. This is a 140mm fan, which is included. This is the CTE 140, non-RGB. This has got a rotational speed of up to 1500 RPM. Noise levels, some in the region of about 30 decibels. So yeah, actually pretty decent. Considering these are what they are effectively calling stock fans now, these do really, really well. They've also got a like piggyback or pass-through, so you can daisy chain cables, which is always nice to see. You can fit 3 of these on the front. So this means up to 240mm AIOs can fit in this front section. If you're doing custom water cooling, then you're going to be limited to a 360mm rad, unless the fittings are a little bit more compressed or condensed, in which case you might get a 420 in there. But do check out the measurements from the Thermaltake website to validate that. To take this out, relatively easy thing to do. So all you're going to need is a screwdriver. There's 4 screws to remove. And then this section you can just push up and it unlatches. This is still captive because we've still got the cables connected behind there, but you can get an idea of what you can do here. So removing this section to install either your fans, your water cooling accessories. If you are doing an elaborate custom loop, then obviously removing it for maintenance purposes is going to be quite easy, and also to maybe get to some of the additional pipe work, etc. behind there. Really nice and open, really nice design, works very well. Something which we're seeing a lot now on Thermaltake cases. So we'll put that back in place. Yeah, to put everything back together, literally just clips it all in. Happy days. Push this back in. And there we go, job done. You can actually take this surround as well. The plastic surround all comes off as well. There are 2 screws in the top which you can undo to remove that. We'll maybe take a look at that later. Let's take a look now at the side and see what's going on there. So now we can take a look at the side panel. So 4mm tempered glass on there. Also you've got a basement section as well, which is removable. There is a plastic film on here. Obviously I'm not going to take that off at the moment. There's 2 thumb screws. Just loosen those off. And then this glass panel removes pretty easily. Pretty hefty. Nice solid piece of glass there. And now we can see inside a little bit better, see what's going on. So motherboard is going to be rotated 90 degrees. So you can have your I/O at the top here. Your PCI Express cards facing up here. Plenty of room here, pass-throughs, rubber pass-throughs, etc. You've also got this basement section at the bottom, which is all perforated as well. Also, you can mount fans in this bottom section, should you wish to. Power supply, they're suggesting up to 180mm as being the largest on there, so do take that into consideration, although realistically I think larger would be absolutely fine. In fact, if we remove this side panel, we can get a slightly better look inside. So again, just 2 thumb screws, slides back, and you can remove that. So it strangely doesn't reveal a great deal more than what was there previously. But you can see this section here, the power supply grill and protection, that stays in, that is riveted in place. This section here, this is what is removable. Again, trusty screwdriver, a couple of cross-headed screws down in this basement, and also a couple of thumb screws in the back. Once those are undone, this section here can be completely removed. And you can see there, nice grill section on there. Mounting option for 120 or 140mm fans there. So you can take that out in its entirety. And then you can see we've got our drive cage in here. So drive cage actually comes out from the rear. When it comes to the drive cage, you've got the options here. Actually, I'll talk about the hard drives in general. So you can put 2 3.5-inch drives in here. Plus you can put an additional 2 on the back panel as well. So 1 on this section here, 1 on the section behind there. If you're going with SSDs, 2 SSDs down here, potentially 4 if you want to squeeze them together, but mountings for 2. And on the back there's another 2 plus 2. So you've got 2 groups on the back, potentially 4 here. It does say on the website that it's over 4 3.5-inch drives or 6 2.5-inch drives. Potentially I would say 8. You can probably get 8 in that bottom section, like 2 lots of 2, plus the 4 on the back as well. Again, plenty of room for adding drives. Don't forget obviously your M.2s which go onto the motherboard as well, so lots of options there in terms of drives. While we're in this section here, what we'll do is we'll flip this over onto its back. And you can see on the bottom here, we've got this nice big mesh section for air filtration. This is done really well. It's using the plastic legs there as a guide for the actual filter. This comes out, slides out, and it's again that nice nylon mesh. Good for airflow. And then you can see we've got more airflow section down here. So for the power supply section, really nice and open. When it comes to the hard drive mounting section, so again, if you don't want hard drives in here, you want to put in something else like your radiator equipment, your pumps, reservoirs, or maybe your favorite Star Wars figure. Isn't a problem, just undo the screws and you can take that thing out as a whole unit. So again, you see nice and sturdy there, plastic drive caddy with a metal surround, and now you can see you've got options there. So you can stick more fans in there if you want to, either at 120 or 140s, taking air straight in. Or like I said previously, if we flip this back up now you can put your reservoir in there, massive reservoir should you wish to. You can as well also. Got this plate here which goes at the back. So now this can go, there's latches on the bottom, yeah, there you go. So a couple of thumb screws that will hold in place. So if you do want to do that and actually have more access down there, you certainly can do. It gives you actually a massive amount of space, and if you are putting a larger radiator in here, then you might actually benefit from that space. If we flip this around a little bit, you can see how much space we've got now, right down to this basement section. So yeah, you can overhang the existing bracket on there by a considerable amount. So what we're looking at this section, you've got the 140mm fan in there, CTE 140 as we said, up to 3 of those can fit in there. Loads of room here for your motherboard, passing through wires, etc. Through those grommets. Really a very open and airy design. If we flip this down again, you can see, so we've got our other CTE 140 fan here at the top. Got your PCI Express blanking plates at the top, and as you'd expect at this kind of price, they are all replaceable, removable, etc. All on thumb screws as well. Your IO shield would go in here. So yeah, pretty decent design overall. Like it a lot. There's a lot that going on here. Again, super flexible, and will take up to an EATX motherboard. We'll move around now to the back side. So to take off the top section, 2 thumb screws in the top there. So loosen those off, and then you can pop this section up. So this is the top section. You've got your IO cover there. Take a look at the IO in more detail. So you've got a reset switch. You've got a headphone jack, microphone jack, a activity LED, your power button, then you've got USB 3.0, 2 of those, and also you have a USB Type-C. This section, as per pretty much everything on this case, has more filtration here. So removable filter, I can just pop back in. This one is one I find a little bit more problematic for actually getting it back in. It does fit in quite snugly, so you do need to give it a little bit of extra push to hold it in there, but once it's in, it's not going anywhere. So now we can see more of this back section. So again, this is kind of replicating what is going on in the front as well. This whole section does come off as well. So again, more thumb screws, just undo those off the top there. And then this section lifts off. And again, more filtration, as we've seen before. Similar sort of deal, so that's all clipped in. This one actually, I think, lifts up. Yeah, there we go, lifts up and pulls out. So there's no magnets on this one. And you've got the same sort of ventilation again. Again, this is something which is a little bit frustrating, that everything on this case is done a little bit differently depending where you are. I guess that's down to the manufacturing, but it would have been nice to see all of the filters being either all slot in or all magnetic, just to make it a little bit easier when you're doing your routine maintenance. So now with that out of the way, you can see we've also got the option in the back here for more radiators, or again, more fans. So you've got a CTE 140 fan in here again. So this is the third one, so there's 3 in total. This section here, you can put a 360mm rad in here if you want to, AIO, or a normal like custom loop type thing, or fans, whatever you want to do really. I'm guessing a 360 rad would probably be possibly overkill for some people, but this is where you get your CTE technology. So your graphics card, if you think about it, is going to be hanging kind of here, downward. So you're going to have your fans on the back blowing inward, you've got your fans on the front blowing inward, and then you've got your fan on the top exhausting. So you've got all this air coming in, and also from the bottom if you wanted to, and then exhausting at the top. So yeah, the airflow Centralised Thermal Efficiency. So they're pushing air in from all sides and then exhausting it out the top, which is the natural way for convection. So there is that section there. Again, the same as the front. You can just undo 1, 2, 3, 4 screws, lift this up, pull it out, install your radiator, install your fans, pop it back in. So yeah, no problems there. You've also got a removable section here for PSU, 4 screws, remove that in there, secure your power supply in there, push it back in, do the 4 screws up. Or if you've got the room, just put your power supply through there, screw it in from the back. Entirely up to you, however you do it. So now let's go back to the backside. So now we've got lots of access in here, an absolute ton of depth, almost 2 inches of depth here. So if you do want to put a 3.5 inch drive mounted on the back of here, you can do, or 2.5 inch drives sideways, or 1 3.5 that way. Again, with this panel here, it is designed really for a fan. So this is going to draw heat away from the back of your CPU area, or potentially push air in. I would say probably exhaust in might be better. This again is removable, so if you need to gain access to the back of this to get to your motherboard, to do something with your CPU, all that you can be done there. Nice and easy to do. Not so easy to put back in on this angle. So that is that section. We've got absolutely tons and tons of tie down points and machine sections. So one there, one there, one there. So for cable management along the top, no problem. You've got these Velcro straps conveniently put. So you've got 3 down that side, 3 down that side, and then another 2 there at the bottom. So depending where you're putting your wires through, if you're putting your 24 pin main power connector through there, you can secure it there. If you put in through here, maybe your graphics card power supply or something for fans, etc., all that kind of stuff, you can secure it there. Taking these up around here is going to be for things like your front panel connectors, which actually we'll take a look at next. So when it comes to front panel connectors, you've got a USB Type-C, dual USB 3.0, you've got your HD audio, and your traditional front panel I/O. All of which cable tied in nicely. Again, at the bottom here, power supply mounting area. Got a nice big chunky bar there to actually rest your power supply on, so it's actually going to elevate your power supply up above the bottom of the mesh, which is actually a good idea because it stops any turbulence between the blades and also the base. So that's pretty good, and also it's going to be able to pull in more air. The drive cages, as we saw earlier, these just fit in to this section, a couple of screws in there, and you can have all of that connected up. Or if you're not going to use that and you just want to put something else in there, maybe wire some stuff up, this section goes in, slots in the bottom there, a couple of thumb screws holds that in place. So again, another grommet for sending wires through to your pump res combos, all those kinds of things. So I think that's pretty much it for the backside. Again, yeah, removable drive sections, pretty much everything you could think of. There's some pass-throughs there as well. So if you run things up through towards your motherboard's rear I/O, that kind of stuff, you can do all that up there as well. Maybe routing USB cables, you can put one up through there, run it through the back of here and out down here somewhere. So if you want to have your I/O down here, then you certainly can do. So yeah, all very cool. Let's take a look at the top section next. So the top section is very unusual because you're not used to seeing this here. You've got your CTE 140 fan there. There's your front I/O, as we showed you a little bit earlier. A couple of screws there, thumb screws. You can remove this front panel in its entirety should you wish to. There is also option for mounting another fan here. So you can put either a 140 or 120mm fan on here as an exhaust to pull air away from your graphics card and things like that. If you don't want it, thumb screw, take it out, remove it. Entirely up to you how you configure that. So again, very flexible. And you see there's where your front I/O is going to be, PCI Express slots, etc. And again, you've got the Velcro straps there. So if you've got your I/O coming out of there, you can hook it down there and then route it down the back here. So I suppose I'd better put all this back together. Okay, so there you go. Worked up a bit of a sweat. Now I should mention actually how heavy this thing is. The net weight, obviously just the case on its own as it comes from the factory, you're looking at 15 kilos, which is yeah, quite weighty. That's about 33 pounds, I think, thereabouts. And in terms of the actual height, I'll put the measurements on. So the height is this, the depth is this, and the width is this. So there you go, there are the measurements. So I suppose I should say thank you very much to Thermaltake UK for sending this over for me to take a brief look at. Unfortunately, this one does have to do the rounds through the review cycles, so I don't get to keep this one, so this will be going on to other reviewers. So do check out what other people think of it as well. I will put some links again for this particular case from scan.co.uk and Amazon, etc. See where the best prices are. But I think at the moment, £130 for what you get here, I think this is actually really impressive. If you think back to cases of yesteryear, perhaps the Corsair, was it the 750D, which kind of is what this could replace quite easily. 150 to £200 easily. I say the Corsair 7000D currently costing around about £230. This at 130 I think is spectacular value for money. If you need a case which is as big as this. Now there are going to be other cases coming out on the market from Thermaltake which are going to be taking advantage of the Centralised Thermal Efficiency, but with smaller chassis sizes. So if you are potentially looking at that and thinking that's an interesting thing to build with, and you do want something a little bit smaller, then do stay tuned. Obviously subscribe if you want to see more content on a regular basis. And as soon as we've got anything from Thermaltake which is a little bit smaller around this principle, then we'll be taking a look at that as well. And also we've got some new cases from Thermaltake coming out very shortly. We've got the Series 300, which I'm super excited to see. So again, do stay tuned for that one. That'll be coming up very soon. We will be doing a full build in that, and potentially it will be replacing my Series 500 here in the background. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what that is all about. But I think in terms of this one, the CTE T500, again, price-wise, you cannot fault it at all. With the inclusion of the 3 fans, the CT140 fans on their own, I think you're looking somewhere around £40 for a twin pack, thereabouts. Yeah, so the case itself, kind of £80 to £90 worth. It's absolutely fantastic value for money, super, super flexible. The only thing I would say is its downside is the fact of its sheer size. Its size may not be something which everyone appreciates. Not everybody wants a hulking great CPU tower under their desk or on their desk or whatever. So yeah, it is going to be a slightly niche market. But overall, yeah, I like it. I think it's a great idea, and certainly a little bit smaller than CTE 750, which is similar design. This is a little bit shorter in terms of overall length. And yeah, I really like the look of it. But what I think about it isn't important. What you think about it is. So let us know in that comment section what you think about this one, and tell me what you'd like to see coming up next from Thermaltake. If there's anything of interest, do let us know and I will pass it on to them, and we'll try and make a video. So anyway, I've waffled on for way too long. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you have, smash the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and all that kind of usual stuff if you want to see content like this on a daily basis. But for now, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.